Welcome to Getting Google with It. My name is Jarvis and I teach at Weaver High. I'm an ag teacher. I've been teaching there for 6 years.
I'm Dave Schaefer. Taught at Weaver High for 8 years. This year I just started at Bear River High, currently teaching Will.
Okay, so we're going to talk to you guys about Google products. My school district is a Google school district, and so everything we do is Google. And I don't know, I joke that if my school district got rid of Google, or if I switched schools to go to a non-Google school district, I would have to quit teaching, because this is how I teach, with all these cool things, and I don't know, I just wouldn't be able to teach without. There's a lot of different things that you guys can do with Google and how to implement those things into your classroom. So we're going to talk about that. How many of you guys use the Google Classroom right now? A few of you. This is perfect. I use it. I love it. So Google Classroom for me has been a godsend. How many of you guys love the question, hey, I was gone yesterday, what did we do? Like literally like the worst question. And now I can just say, check out the Google Classroom, or hey, Mr. Pace, I missed yesterday, what am I doing? Or Mr. Pace, I'm going on vacation in 2 weeks. What am I missing? I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing in 2 weeks. So just check the Google Classroom later and you can have access to everything there. So
do you ever have kids who go, I don't know how to find it?
Yes, no, I don't have kids ever tell me that they don't know how to find my Google Classroom. Because I do so much on Google Classroom. Well, I don't teach middle school, so that could be part of it. I teach juniors and seniors mostly, so I don't even teach the sophomores. So that could be part of it, but Google is such a friendly, user-friendly format that they can have it on their phones, they're used to Gmail, they're used to Google, they're used to all that.
You know, I used Canvas for a little while, trying to build it, and I had used Google Classroom before that. The school district had just come into Canvas. When I was working to put that all together, right beside my Google Classroom that I already had created, you know, for 2 or 3 years before that, the ease, you know, Jarvis already said that the user-friendly side of Google Classroom for the students is absolutely awesome, and I would totally give it kudos for that same thing on the teacher side, above and beyond what Canvas already is. And Canvas has other options. You know, Google Classroom and Canvas are not the same thing. If I was to choose something for my high school or middle school age students, Google Classroom is the way that I would go.
I was telling my students that I was doing this presentation talking about Google, so I just wanted some of their feedback. And hands down, every single one of my classes, because we also do Canvas in my school as well, Canvas or Google. Hands down, every single one of my students said that they prefer Google over Canvas, because Canvas is confusing and hard, and Google is just so easy. And I love the Google app, like the Google Classroom app that I have on my phone at home.
As far as some things that I'm using Google Classroom for, a little daily starter for
Google Forms with Google Photos and Google Drawings. One of my labs that I like to do is where we dissect gummy bears. I don't want to take the time and grade each student's right then and there, right? Just walk around and do some spot checking and say, hey, this is awesome, you guys are doing good. So I'm still floating around my classroom, but I don't have to have a notebook, I don't have to have the students come around, because what I have students do is I have students take a picture of their worksheet, and then I can grade it on my own time. They submit their photo online or onto my Google Classroom, and then I'm able to double check, and then I still obviously have their work. I have a sample of their work, because the best part about this lab is them eating those giant cinnamon bears after they've cut them up into those different transsectional planes and things like that. So this is a way to utilize Google Photos into your classroom. You can have students take pictures of their work and submit it this way. That way, and then you have sample work to show people as well. Instead of being like, I did this really cool lab where we cut up gummy bears and it was really fun and hands-on. Well, now I can show, like, we did this lab and we cut it up.
That wasn't me.
Okay. and this is what it looks like. So I do have evidence.
Hello, in my class, they would get an assignment, a pre-test or whatever it was, to go find, you know, make their first weld in whatever position it was, and then they'd take a picture of it. Okay, rather than them bringing a pile of steel up to me and keeping it somewhere and making sure their name was on it, I got an image, okay, and they made sure that they took the picture right so I could see what it looked like and all that kind of stuff. And if they didn't, well, then they had to go and retake the picture or whatever it was. Super easy way to check that kind of work.
Another thing that I've come across this school year is Google Drawings. So this is one that we did. We talked about the male reproductive tract of a bull. And so I had my students draw the male reproductive tract on their computer and label it. And so that cut down on me making copies of paper. That cut down on students being like, I screwed up, can I get a new one? Things like that. And definitely like a trip down to the copy. Kids have like mixed reviews on how they like Google Drawings. I like it because I don't have to do paper. Kids like it, or kids don't like it because they can't be as neat, because they're not as comfortable using a computer mouse. Another thing you can do is you can even have them like draw on pictures as well. So I had them draw the respiratory system of this sheep, and then this was an assignment that we did yesterday, actually. They had to draw the ruminant's digestive system and then the way that the feed travels through that ruminant digestive system, and they were able to do it all on the Google Drawings application instead of paper. And then
An assignment that I use, that's an ongoing assignment in my welding classes, is to be able to check off the welds that they complete. The thing I love about Google Classroom, you get a classroom folder that the Google Classroom creates and inserts into your Google Drive. And it also does that for any student who joins a class in the Google Classroom. So everybody gets a classroom folder where all of their assignments and work and whatever through the Google Classroom gets organized. Once you're into the Google Classroom and you have some options, one of my favorite options here in an assignment is that every student gets a copy. If you've ever tried just generally sharing through the Google Drive a document, you accidentally share with all permissions to all the students, and you get that one document that gets edited by everybody, and you wanted everybody to have their own, and it just didn't work, and you failed miserably, and anyway, it's terrible. I've been there. You can't do it with this. And this makes it a lot easier. And this is one of those things, when I was using Canvas that year, that I was trying it out and trying to make it work, it didn't have this option. I could not get a way to generate a copy for every student through Canvas's system, whereas Google Classroom will do this. I could send out, an uneditable version where they could make their own copy, but students have a hard time deciding that they can make a copy on their own. And so Google Classroom's allowed for that, so that I can just send out a copy of that document or that assignment or whatever it is to every student, so it automatically comes up with their name and the name of the document that I've created. This is their document. This is one of those folders in the class period within the drive. So it has every student's name that received a copy of that file, plus the name of that file. So I know exactly what it is and who it belongs to. The great thing about this is I no longer have the issue where, I have a kid that is doing a bunch of welds and he's completing them real fast and he's got it all done and he turns it in and it's, sitting on my desk waiting, and then I get busy and I'm doing things because that's what we do, And then some other kid sneaks by and, oh, look at this card, it's chock full of welds. Steals the paper, smudges out the name however he can, and kind of fiddles his name into there, and then turns it in as his card. I don't have that anymore because I know whose name is on this assignment. There's no stealing those welds. And the other one was when I had a card, I'd initial every box when they'd get a weld finished off, right? And then I'd have some kids practicing my initials, and then all of a sudden I'd see little inconsistencies here and there. I don't have that anymore because with Google, you can go back in and see every edit and who edited that document. So I can tell that I'm the one that put that X right there. There's no chance that that kid did it without me knowing that it happened. Okay? If I see a handful more welds on a card that I think are realistic, I'll go click on that button right there and find out who the last one was that edited it. If it was that kid, well, come here, let's chat. That's how we curb some of that kind of stuff in the shop now. Yeah.
So as you're looking at each one of those welds, have you got your iPad with you or something that you're doing that on, or?
Great question. I have my phone on me all the time. And so Google Classroom's got an easy app, Google Drive has an easy app, Google Sheets, Google Docs, they're all just an easy app I can pull up on my phone, and I check their wealth right there on my phone in class.
And you have a magnifying glass on you also, so you can...
The great thing about phones is you can generally zoom them in far enough that you can see exactly what you're looking at.
Also, when you're not over 70, you don't need, like, you can see pretty good.
So let me add, I mean, I'm just asking because I'm thinking, you know, what I teach, the content that would apply to the oral sign or whatever. But how is that any different than you having your grade book up and saying, this
Yeah,
class
well,
has the 4 weeks?
Yeah, you can do it that way, sure.
Okay.
And I guess that's up to you if you want to go
Yeah, well,
that
it's
direction, that's
possible
the
to
perfect
do
way to do it.
well.
I mean,
The easy thing
I
for me
like
here,
that, you can see all their wells at once, I'm just curious.
the thing that I like about having an actual card that they've got to keep track of, and they can see what they're doing, is they have access to this as well. In this format, they see this, and so they know what's coming up. Some things that I'm going to add to this, or in addition, are actually the weld symbols of what I'm looking for. So there's some other things that the gradebook can't tell them that they can see through this document.
And like your phone's a lot less cumbersome than maybe a laptop. And you have to like walk around and like set your laptop down, can I see it? Enter it, set your laptop down, can I see it? Or even sitting in one spot and making the kids come to you, which I didn't like doing that because then other things were happening in my classroom because I wasn't moving around, and then making the kids come to me to put it off in the gradebook, like either having an iPad or a phone or something, which is classroom management things I think would make it a little bit.
But could you adapt to that? Sure. You could have just a specific grading time when, okay, this is where I'm going to be at the computer. Bring me your stuff now. This is what I'm going to look at, or whatever, right? All those kinds of, you can adapt to that. One nice thing about Sheets, you know, if you've ever used Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets does the same thing, but you can freeze this row. So they specifically have all of these joints that they've got to complete. When I scroll it over, because I've zoomed it up so big that I can't see this and this, if I scroll it over with this one frozen, this one stays there and I can see it and still know what weld they're working on. Right? Instead of having to worry about zooming it in so big that I don't know what square I'm on or what cell that I'm in. So, I mean, there's ways of making that work for you, even if you're visually impaired like Buddy. So.
Alright, so something that I like to do is do tests and quizzes on Google Forms. Well, there's a way that you can set up your Google Form in order to make it a test or a quiz. This is the upcoming test that my students are doing this next unit. So, this is what it looks like for me as a teacher. When I open up a new form, obviously this one's already filled out. So you would open up a new form to get started. You would come up with a name for it. This is the animal digestion test. And then you just start adding questions, which are super easy because of this little toolbar right here. That plus guy right there means add a question, and you can do a couple different things. So I always start my form by asking for the student's first name, last name, and their class period. And you can make those required. That way so students don't forget to put their names on things. But also this is kind of a moot point because every time you create an assignment on the Google Classroom, it attaches it to their name anyways. But that's just how I always start doing my tests. And then one thing that I like to do when I do my tests is create sections. So you guys can see here, section 1 of section 7. And then they have to click through the next one. So once they fill out their personal information at the bottom, it'll say next, just like on a survey or a form. And then it'll take them to my favorite part, which is the password. You can password protect your Google Forms so that students have to have a password in order to get in. And I can change that password so that it's not always the same password for every class. So the way to do that is you create a question that's called password, and then the students, you make it a short answer question, and then you'll come down to these 3 dots. The thing about Google and what makes it so user-friendly is if, when in doubt, click on the 3 dots. Because the 3 dots are going to be what is typically the answer to your question there. So you click on the 3 dots and you'll click response validation. And then that means it has to contain whatever response you gave it. Now, it could be like it could be symbols, it could be letters, it could be a word, but it has to be that contained. And then if the student can try to do whatever they want, put in whatever password they want, but it won't let them go on to the next section until they type in concentrate for the password there. So they need to have that password, and you can make it as crazy as you want or as simple as you want. And then that keeps the students, so you always get those fast movers. You post your test at the beginning of class, you get kids to log in. You're not ready for them to take the test yet, but you want to have it posted just to have it posted. Well, students can't move on until they have that response validation. And so I get everybody, they put in their first and last name, their class period, and then I make everybody wait until everybody's on this password screen. And then I tell them or show them the password, and then they can all move on, and then they've all started the test at the same time. I've already gone through the troubles of getting everybody logged into the Chromebooks, so it's just not bad. It just keeps everybody going at the same time. And then you can start going on your questions. You can set it up as a key. Whoa. So you'll click right here, answer key. You'll select how many points you want it to be worth, and then you select true or false. And then you can do that for multiple choice. Again, answer key, assign it a point value, and then they can pick which one it is. And the best thing is as soon as they hit submit, it grades it for you. I still do like the idea of some short answer question, because I can have it grade it and just mark what works, but then I have to take into consideration capitalizations. Maybe the kid did all caps. Maybe the kid did it all in lowercase. Maybe the kid did whatever. So, and they can't spell, because they'll spell villi, V-I-L-I, or V-E-L-I, or whatever. But I know what they're talking about, so I give them I can go through and I would just manually grade those.
But does this show up in their Google Classroom feed, or is it something they specifically like you give them?
So I would create it as an assignment. So I would go to that create button, hit create assignment, and I would attach this Google form onto the test. Now, one thing about the Google form that they just started, I had my students take a test. What day was it, Dave? I texted you and all sorts of excitement.
It was like last Friday or something.
Yeah, it was last Friday. Right before you assign it, Google is now doing a beta test that I am a part of, where you can toggle on locked mode or restricted mode. And that means that the students can only take it on a Chromebook device, can only be taken on a Chromebook, and it fills the entire screen so they cannot navigate and open up new tabs.
That's so exciting.
Which is so exciting, and I love the gas, because once I saw this, I didn't know this was happening the day we were taking the test. And I set it up, and I texted Dave immediately, and started laughing, and was loving it, because I got to try something new for my students.
Texting,
I did. Yeah, spot. I love it. So in the future, I'm sure it won't say beta, but you can click this lock mode on or off. The students, when they take it, it'll give them a warning that says this test has been locked or has been put on locked mode, and that means that you can't open up tabs or navigate away from the screen until you submit your test, which is awesome. And just for fun, I had a girl who brings her MacBook every day, try to take it on her MacBook, and it won't work on the MacBook. It only works on Google Chrome devices, which sucks if you're in a computer lab. Like Cassie, she just left. But if you have Chromebooks, we're going to be a one-to-one school next year. Most schools in our school district are one-to-ones. Each student has their own Chromebook device. So this is awesome. And then it fills that entire screen, so all the student has access to is that test. I would lie to my students and I said, hey, Google's really smart, and if you navigate away from the screen, it'll tell me what website you went to and how long you spent there. Which I'm pretty sure some students figured out that was just a straight up lie, but then I have other students that are like, Mr. Pace, I'm so sorry, I accidentally opened up a new tab. I was only there for 5 seconds. I say, I know. I just saw that you went to the Google home screen. You're fine. So you just have to keep the lie going, right? And so, but now I don't have to lie anymore to my students. So it's pretty cool. I got all sorts of excited when this happened, and my students, they didn't care, right? But from a teacher standpoint, it's just one of those cool teacher things that nobody likes. So I love the gas, because even when I didn't go home and tell my wife I didn't think it's cool. But you guys do, I love that. Thanks for thinking that was cool. All right.
I think we're not out of time.
We're probably coming to this. But what does this look like when you're getting it back from the kids?
Yes, we will. We showed a video beforehand, but it looks just like this, actually. I mean, so when I get it back from the kids,
Sorry if that's off your
no, I think that's cool. We'll see what Google Classroom looks like.
So I had a lot of fun putting the stuff on there, but then I couldn't figure out what to do with it after that.
Okay, so here's all my Google Classrooms. Way too many. But
I get rid of mine when I'm not using it.
no, I'm using all of them. That's the shitty thing about it. Okay, so this is what your Google Classroom looks like when you first get into it. They have the stream.
This is very blog-like, okay? Chronological. The top is the most recent, the bottom is whenever ago.
So this is where you can add announcements. Hey guys, don't forget we have a test coming up. Now, anytime you post on the classwork tab, it'll automatically post in the stream. So today I had a substitute. I can schedule posts to post for me. And so I scheduled this post to post at 11:50 because that's when class started, so students weren't working on it beforehand. And I can show you that one too, but you'll click on the classwork, and I can go right here to any of these, but the ruminant is the one that you wanted. Now, this was an assignment that I did a couple days ago. So I had one student turn it in, and I graded it, and I had 7 turn it in that I haven't graded yet, and 23 of them haven't turned it in yet. Which is fine based on my late work policy.
So if that assignment is based under that little tab and it's not
Yes.
all over in the.
And so returned means I've graded it and I've given it back to the student, and I'll show you how to give it back to the student in just a second. Turned in means I haven't graded it. Assigned means I'm still missing, or like they haven't turned it in. But the good thing is, and this is another thing I like about Google, is I can go click on this assign tab and I can see if students have started it but not finished it. So Bronson here has started, but he maybe didn't so he hasn't drawn the arrows yet to go through. So he hasn't submitted it, but I can see that Bronson has started. And so that's one thing that I like. I can click on this turned in thing. This is Ellie's, this is the sample work that you saw. I can click on it right here, and I can see Ellie's assignment. And now I can add a comment like, great job, best one I've seen, or your arrows weren't quite lining up, or you mixed up this one and that one. Mr. Diamond?
Let's say you have 30 of those assignments, right? And you're checking before the assignment's due. If someone is finished, how do you mark that so you don't have to go back to those?
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
So I can click right here to return. I can click on return and it'll return this back to Ellie, and then I'll still have a copy of it, and then I can click right here on this arrow to the next one. I can see Alyssa's, and I can see her assignment, okay? And then I can click on the next one, and I can see Colton Doman's, and right here it just says assigned, so Colton hasn't turned it in to me yet, and he hasn't even done it. He's a wrestling kid, so he was gone the day that we did it, but he hasn't done it. So I can go right back here, Mr. Daimler, just to give it back to you. Once I grade them and look at them, I can select them here. I can click return, and it'll put it in the return section. So I can see like here, one student has done it, and I've returned it because I've graded it. I've had 7 students turn it in that I haven't graded yet, and then 23 kids it's just assigned to them. Yeah, Franny?
The nice thing too is if you assign points to it and you miss points in Power School for some reason, which nobody does that, right? You don't accidentally enter something wrong
Right.
in Power School. It saves it on here, so you can go back and check everything.
Right, and so you will always have an access. Like I will always have a copy of Ellie's work, even though I returned it to her. She becomes the new owner of that document. The other thing is, once they submit it to me, they are not the owners of that document. I am. So once they submit it, they can't change it until I return it to them.
Or share with somebody else.
Or they can't share it with anybody else, because once they submit it to me, I become the owner of that document, and they are no longer the owner, so they can't make changes, they can't edit it, they can't share it, they can't do anything with it. And if they want to, they have to request access from me to do something with it. Now I can return it, and once I return it, then they become the owner again, and I have a copy of it forever, if I want.
So for putting points, like if you're gonna tell them what their score was, is that just where you put it in that comment box? There's not like a place to put a score?
There's no place to put a score.
So I can click right here, view assignment, and this will give me everything here. I take the assignments off, like the scores off, because I don't grade, because we have,
Your turned in one will be down here at the bottom.
yeah.
The one that you have graded. So if you had a grade, like it said, it was ungraded. But if you had a grade there and there was a score that you said it's worth 20 points or whatever, it would say 20 out of 20 or 10 out of 20 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Video show they have that.
It is.
Like 95 on that.
Out of 100, yeah. So now our school district it's not Power School because we're super special. We have our very own, but they've made it up themselves. And so that's what the students see, like that's the grade that matters, not my Google grade. And so I don't care about grading it on the Google platform because it's just easier for me I have 2 monitors. And so as I just enter the grade, I just enter the grade. Instead of entering the grade here, then entering the grade there, I just enter it once and I'm done. And I can just see that I've returned it. And if a kid does have an issue with it, then I can go back and look and reevaluate how I scored them.
There are some grading systems that some districts use that Google communicates with, and it'll push the grades right there. You can download it in a CSV formatted file.
Right, because they even have,
whatever you need.
they have this thing called grades. I don't go over there at all because I don't have it, but you can see like out of 100, I mean, I just haven't changed those to ungraded yet or whatever. Check marks means it's done, and all that good stuff. So, anyways, there's that. Any other questions about assignments or how to utilize assignments? Yeah.
So I use Google Classroom, and when like you create a classroom, you know, you have to like go in and turn off comments. Is there a way to like set that so it's like automatically, or you have to go in?
You have to go in every time.
The default is comments.
Okay, I was wondering if there's a way to change the default, or okay, just have to do it every time.
Yeah, so that, what she's talking about, if you guys don't use Google Classroom, students can comment back and forth unless you turn that ability off, and sometimes you need to, based on your class. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they will do that. I more often than not go in and turn the comments off, that's for sure. To be honest, in my welding classes now, I haven't had to worry about it. There's not been any comments back and forth. They're less likely to use that than my science classes were, for whatever reason. So, anyway.